Good morning, everybody. I'm EVELYN THOREN. I am your host for the Dawn Patrol. Dawn Patrol goes from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. on Thursday mornings, and actually every morning. But and City Life is from 7 to 8. So as you notice, we don't have a co-host this morning. Bob Hoey is still recovering, and sounds like he's doing very well. But sometimes it's a slow recovery, so we're looking forward to when he can actually come back and we can have a nice chat about all of his experiences and listen to his opinion on like everything. Sam Chase is not feeling too well this morning, so he has chosen not to join us, and that's fine. So it's just myself and John McDonough, our producer, that's going to be here for the first hour. As far as we're aware, you got to adjust.
Your head's not cut off over there, but it's cut off here.
Yeah, I can see that on the monitor. And then we have Paul Cohen coming in at 7, and we have that's in advance of Chelmsford's fall town meeting. He also has some information regarding the new school building project. Some updates about the fire stations. We had a $25 million debt exemption that passed in Chelmsford to address the issues of Engine 3 and Engine 5. We've already done the center, and we've done North Chelmsford, and East doesn't need updates as far as everybody is aware currently. So there's all of that stuff is in the queue. So we'll be listening to him about that and the state of what's going on in Chelmsford, maybe about the budget, how well we're doing, because we had a lot of, we had ARPA funds that came in just like all other communities, but what our town manager did was to take those and put it towards one-time events, one-time issues, and temporary employees, where the many places that was in this state that actually hired people, and now they're, because they've hired them, then they become a recurring charge on a line item in the budget. So either you cut them, or you cut somebody else, or you try to figure out how to raise revenue. I mean, there's a lot of choices out there. So coming in this morning, it was about 64 degrees from Chelmsford, and it's pouring out there, which is lovely and wonderful. We need all the rain we can get. And if some people don't particularly care for the rain, well, it's not snow. You don't have to shovel it. It's not ice, and you don't have to put sand down. So look at the positives all of the time, and the fact that we do have a blessing with having more rain, because there's definitely problems. Now, in sections of New Hampshire and Maine, wells are going dry. A lot of people take for granted that we have an unlimited source of water. We don't.
What's the ocean?
Well, I'm talking about fresh water. And as far as the ocean goes, desalination, what do you call it, process, we do have almost an unlimited amount of water in the ocean, but we can't take that for granted either. So, you got any comments on weather?
It's hide under the bed rain, everybody. Hope you have your bed lifters out. It's going to rain so heavily today
I'm happy.
that you need an umbrella. It's rained.
I know. I'm not worried. It's wet. Now, one of the things to be careful about, though, is there's a lot of puddlings out there, and some of the leaves have come off some trees, so you want to be cautious about driving, because it can be slippery if you hit a patch
How about if you
of
have
leaves.
you have a brand spanking new car now? How do you like new wiper blades? Were the other wiper blades old?
No, Glenn kept changing them to make sure that I could see through the windshield. But I know that at one point, the van was going to need a new windshield. I drive a lot. The current van I got at the end, I think it was at the end of May, beginning of June. And I have over 5,000
Great
miles
coffee.
on
You
it.
didn't try any?
I didn't get up to get any. I'll get up shortly. I'm fine. So I'm still trying to wake up.
That's why she's groggy. No coffee today.
Well, I'm not. I'm still talking.
Yes.
So we'll figure out all the different other topics that we can
I gotta
talk about.
share this on Facebook.
You're going to share something?
I gotta share Facebook, otherwise people don't watch.
Oh, okay. So John's doing the producing and directing from the chair, this chair, and then when Paul Cohen comes, we'll see about how we rearrange the seating arrangements that are
I'll
here.
move over there because I got to put the YouTube link up.
Okay. Well, anyway, so
No, that's wrong.
so in New Hampshire, like I said, there's a lot of wells going dry. They're saying that most of those are shallow wells. So if you go down more than 500 feet, it's highly unlikely that your well will go dry, but they're asking for people to conserve their water regardless. So one of the observations is they want to put so many more condos up and houses and developments and everything. We're having problems with the water we currently have. So are they actually looking at what the, where they're going to get the water for all of these locations? There's also a lot of places, or I should say most places, do not have sewer in those two states. So everything would be septic. I am not against that because it puts water back into the ground, and that does help the
Evelyn,
situation.
We get water out of the faucet. I live with a city boy. We get water out of the faucet. That's where it comes from. End of story.
So
We have plenty of water. Turn it on as much as you want. It comes out. It's not going to stop.
well, I wouldn't be so sure.
Yes.
I've always been into conserving water, like how
Walk over
fast
the
can I take a
toilet, you go
shower?
hit the little thing on the toilet. It's gone.
Yeah,
Take a
well,
shower. It comes out bountiful, nice and warm.
that's how everybody
Welcome
feels.
to
but it's-
America.
Yeah, but it's not like that everywhere, so you have to be very
Have you looked
cautious.
at the Merrimack River?
I
There's
go
plenty-
over it several
Plenty of
times.
water in it. Plenty. Plenty.
Anyway, I'm talking about New Hampshire and Maine, because there's severe
Well,
drought
they're not
conditions up there.
watching.
It doesn't matter. People have homes. They know people everywhere. And what can happen there can happen here. Chelmsford is on wells. And when I
I
went...
haven't used well water since I was 10 years old.
Well, then good, that's for you. But I mean, the rest of us aren't in the same boat. No
I
puns
believe it was
intended.
Lakeview, we had a pump. We had to pump it.
Oh, my grandmother had one of those.
And it had like this little thing. And I didn't see it, another one till years later on the Rifleman. He had the same getup.
There was one in my
He had
grandmother's
to prime it,
backyard
whatever
growing up.
priming was.
Yeah, you put water in it in order to be able to have the water come out of it.
But that was in the
Like a
sticks.
siphon.
That was in the country. Drake it.
Yeah, but my grandmother was in the city of Quincy.
Where was the sticks to you?
Pardon me?
Where was the sticks to you? Country.
Oh, where was I didn't even think about it growing up. I
You
felt,
didn't see country?
I grew up in a city. But where we
So
were,
did I.
but where we were in the city,
Mm-hmm.
the road was Circuit Road. It's off of Route 53 in Quincy. Route 53
That's
begins in
not
the,
the question.
I'm going to answer it. The Route 53 begins in the center of Chelmsford, so in the center of Quincy. And so it goes by the foot of our street. So you come up, and it's like a small oasis. So I never really thought about city or country because all behind us was undeveloped when I grew up. We used to go up there and pick wild blueberries. There were pheasants,
So within the
foxes.
city of Quincy, you had a little forest?
Yes. And then you had Faxon Park.
Oh, no, we had Drake it.
So
We had
Faxon
Drake it,
Park was,
Pelham.
yeah, we didn't have any of
My
that.
mother would say, we're going for a ride in the country. And one time, several times we went to the White Mountains. Oh, my God, it was beautiful.
If we, if we wanted to go for a ride in the country, we went and visited our cousins up in Fitzwilliam, New Hampshire. And then you're out on Route 119, and you go through and Route 2, you go through Winchendon and Gardner and that. There was a lot of open space. And also in, Quincy, there's the Blue Hills Reservation and Canton. So there's a lot of forest in that area,
Okay.
even though you're in the city. So you really don't have to go very far if you want to be in the woods, in the city of Quincy. And it's still almost like
That's in
that.
the olden days.
No, they still have Blue Hills. They haven't developed that. And Faxon Park, so far, is still Faxon Park. There's places that you can go that the kids can, it's like playgrounds and walkways
Oh,
and,
we have Tewksbury.
and things like that. Well, I don't live in the city of
We have the
Quincy. I live in
Drake State
Chelmsford.
Forest, beautiful place to walk.
I have
in.
woods behind my house in Chelmsford. And because there's wetlands
Drake
back
is-
there, nothing will be
Drake Forest is
built.
better.
Oh, I'm sure, but I'm not moving to Drake it.
If you want a nice walk, go to the Dracut State Forest.
Yeah, I think there's
It's
a lot of, there's a
lovely.
lot of nice places out there, and then there's also the bike trail. And I'm gonna ask Paul about electric bikes on the bike trail. I want to make sure
Well, every state rep that makes time to come in here, I'm talked to Tara Hung earlier this week, and I want him to pass a law. If it's an electric vehicle, you must wear a helmet. Not talking electric cars, I'm talking scooters, bikes, skateboards, anything a kid can ride on that's not registered, that's electric, the kid's got to wear a helmet. Or the adult has to wear a helmet.
Well, I don't think that's a bad idea. People should be doing that anyway. But you go into the state of New Hampshire and you have motorcyclists that aren't wearing helmets
That's
or
the live
anything.
free or die state.
I know, but I'm just saying that there are
We sell firecrackers, but don't use them. We have open carry with, you can
Don't
walk
show
around
it.
with your gun, open carry. On your holster, you can have your gun, legal in New Hampshire.
Well, there's other states that are like that too.
But
And then there's constitutional carry, so they don't have a license that you have to have in order to have a gun, own a gun. So, and then there's, I think there's
what'd you
two,
think of that restaurant up at Skyview?
I thought that was awful. I didn't read too much about things, but I was talking to one of my friends yesterday. She had said that it was a disgruntled employee.
That's the rumor, yep.
So, there's a lot of stuff out there, and rumor is a key word lately. And if people want, I wonder what you would call it, non-facts, untruths, lies, whatever you'd like to do it. There's a lot of people out there trying to change people's thought process because their perception isn't reality. So
I'm looking at you on the monitor in case you want.
I know that, and occasionally I'll look at you because I like to do that. So what?
Okay.
I'm just doing what I normally do when I'm here.
Just, we have this good-sized TV set in front of us. So.
Yes, we have a
that's
huge
mirroring
monitor.
What we're looking at. So I'm looking at Evelyn on the monitor.
Right, because when,
Evelyn does this.
on occasion.
And then my friend Linda Bound, if she's watching, Linda does this. Oh, poor Linda, God help her. She really looks at the other person.
Well, we were taught to look people in the eye when we speak to them,
But
so
this is TV. It's
I
different.
understand. So since
It's
it
an
is
act.
television,
Now, look, at this time of day, tomorrow, at, what do we got? At 6:17, are you going to be all dolled up like this at your house tomorrow?
no, I'll be in pajamas. But I will probably be up.
So, tomorrow I'll probably dress similarly to this, but, because that's what I do. I do this every weekday. But Sunday morning, I ain't looking like this.
If I could stay in pajamas all day, it would be great, but I have things I have to do. So there's a lot of different topics out there that we could cover this morning, but one of the things just to stay on the weather part of it for a moment, there's what they call twin hurricanes or tropical depressions that's in the Atlantic off of
In the
Bermuda.
ocean.
Yes, in the ocean, and they're wondering
Yes.
what's going to happen with that. You have, this hasn't got to do with weather, but there's been earthquakes. I think there was a 4.3 in San Francisco, out in that area, and they had another larger one, I think it's a 5.
I was watching San Francisco news
Venezuela.
this morning, and they are trying to overcome an $800 million deficit. And they're like, wow, San Francisco has an $800 million deficit.
And the question is, how did they get there? I mean, we can,
The politicians can't read the budget. That's how they got there.
well, they aren't mandated to have a balanced budget
Well,
either.
no, it's presented to them in a fashion where we're overspending, and they go like, go ahead.
Yeah,
They
but,
approved it.
right, but I mean, those are general statements. The specifics are, what are they spending their money on?
Well, I would guess most of your elected officials can't read the budgets as it's presented to them.
Maybe most of them can't read a budget.
When Paul Cohen comes in, I might ask him that question. Why do some administrations present a budget that's extremely difficult to process?
Well, the question would be, where did the business managers go to school in order to be able to set it up? Or was it set up so long ago that they can't change it in terms of, being able to understand what the line items are? The school committee budget, I understood budgets because I ran a household
Well, because you
on a
live in a
small
town
level.
that presented them in a fashion you could
Well, it was
understand.
fairly straightforward. You had your line items, they had specific codes, and we'll ask Paul the details. If Sam was here, he'd be able to tell us more about it because he's a financial person. It's not something I have followed specifically because I don't need to
Well,
figure
how
that
you
one
get
out.
it
I
passed
understand.
is how you gonna, it's kind of like when you buy a car. They don't tell you anything about the sales tax. They don't tell you anything about you gotta go get the thing insured. And
Well, it
if you're making
depends.
payments, the payments are gonna go on. I have a friend of mine bought a car, a 6 years to pay it off.
Usually you say, we've always saved up enough money so we pay cash. And as far as sales tax goes,
Some people don't have that discipline.
well, and they don't have the foresight, because if they're changing their cars every 3 to 5 years, you can't save that kind of money in 3 to 5 years, no matter what.
Well, wait a second, how old was the jalopy you just got rid of?
Yes, but most people don't
No,
keep a
that
car
was
for
not
17
quite
years.
17 years.
Yeah, most people
So
don't.
Evelyn put 50 cents a week away for 17 years.
It's just the way it is. I
And
mean,
Glenn
if the-
said, "We have so many jugs full of 50 cents, Evelyn, I think we have enough money." So they brought it down to their little bank in Chelmsford, and they counted all the money, and lo and behold, bought the car for cash. 50 cents a day for 17 years.
You're being very
Good
facetious.
job. Well, you're smart. You're not correcting me.
That's not the way it works. But in purchasing a vehicle, you're told that in Massachusetts, it has to be insured. They have to get an insurance binder from the insurance company.
A vehicle is an overpriced car, just in case you wonder what Evelyn was talking about. We're
Well,
purchasing a vehicle.
Well, I always called it that. It was really cute when Victoria, that's my oldest granddaughter, who's now 19. I was watching her when she was like 1 or 2. And we'd sit out on the steps when the weather was really nice. Obviously, we're not sitting out there and it's freezing cold, and we're not sitting out there in the rain or snow. And so we'd sit out there and the cars would go by. Now, there's all kinds of cars. There's the trucks, there's the vans, there's regular cars. Now they call them SUVs. I mean, there's all kinds of things that go by. In order not to confuse the child, I always called them vehicles. And then later, as she got a little older, I said, "Now, what kind of a vehicle is that?" "That's a van, Grandma. That's a truck, Grandma." So it was a progression, but I always called them vehicles, and it was really cute when, I mean, like I said, she was like 2.5. "Are we going to the store in a vehicle?" It was funny. That was a very long time ago. So, but as far as when you go to purchase one, they try to get you to finance it because they make more money that way. And they always lowball, because this is another story to let people know what happened. We weren't on last week. They always lowball any trade-ins. Now, a 17-year-old vehicle really isn't worth much. But this particular vehicle,
I love to say to them, they'll say, "You're trading this in?" "Yeah, I'm just so glad it started today. I thought I was going to have the tow. I thought I was going to get pushed in here, but I'm glad it started on its own. I'm so happy."
we didn't have that problem. But so
You
when
didn't trade it in.
no, I didn't, because they only offered me $300. And that was sight unseen. And I said, "Well, if I bring it over here, will they offer me any more?" And the guy goes, "No." And I said, "Well, then you're not going to get it."
There's a place called Carvana. Carvana will give you more money than the dealer.
Yes.
And you go like, "Why should I trade it in? Carvana's going to give me this." And they go like, "Oh, taking away our profit." So Carvana is
Well, that's where we
good-
went.
So explain to the audience why you should definitely get a price off of Carvana before you trade your car in.
Well, because the trade-ins, I told you, they lowball it, and they don't want to give you a whole lot of money. Sometimes you can sell your vehicle online and get a whole lot more money. I would caution people about doing
Yeah.
that. But with Carvana, Glenn did all those details. He got on different sites. He put all the same information in. He had to send pictures, and Then all of the paperwork was online.
I got a question from the audience, so hold the thought for a
Okay.
second. Guy by the name of, I think his name, Justin. Why are they sitting in the dark? Turn the brightness control up on your TV, buddy. We're not sitting in the dark.
No,
Back over to you.
there's lights here. It could be how it's coming across on
No.
either your telephone,
Hit the brightness button on your TV.
or you have to hit the brightness button on your phone if you're
Or
watching
get a
on
new
your phone.
TV. Head over to Target and get yourself a nice
Yeah,
TV.
they're really cheap.
Walmart, oh my God, they're giving them away. I walked through Super Walmart in Cow Hampshire, $400 for a 900-inch TV, and they're like, how can they do that?
Well, anyway, so back to Carvana. So Glenn was able
Going on
to do
too
that,
long.
and then yeah, but you interrupted. So anyway, they said we had to drive the vehicle there, and Carvana is in Norfolk, Massachusetts. So down 495, it's an hour highway driving pretty much, and they're right off the highway.
Glenn's pushing with the Tahoe.
So the problem that we had is that the van was not, it didn't have an up-to-date inspection sticker, and it was not insured and not registered. I'm not driving it on the road. You can get, if you're pulled over for any particular reason,
There are
it's a
loopholes.
criminal offense.
There are loopholes, but listening to you.
Right. So I told Glenn, I'm not driving it. My vehicle, my choice. So one of my sons had a friend that had a car trailer. So we put the van on the car trailer and Glenn hauled it down with the Tahoe. When we got there, the guy goes, does it drive? I said, yes, but it's not insured, so we weren't driving it. Oh, okay. So when they did drive it, because they have to take it for a test drive, they have to inspect it, they have to put the little thing in, whatever they do to see if anything comes up on the screen that's wrong with the engine, and everything was perfect. So they gave me a check, and we left. One less vehicle in my driveway.
Okay.
So now I'm working on him to get rid of the next
The
one.
dealer was going to give you.
Pardon me? Yes, it was, I think we got $500 more. All I wanted was the money for the tires. We had put brand-new tires on the car. So when we go to do, and I wasn't going to necessarily donate it because we don't have enough itemizations for deductions. So the last resort was to donate it, which we didn't do. And I was concerned, because it's a 17-year-old vehicle. So anyway, now I have a brand new one. So we'll see how that goes. I'm getting almost 30 miles to the gallon. I did not want a hybrid vehicle. The more electronics you have, the more things that can go wrong.
That's your opinion.
I know, but I that's what I just said.
I was out to
didn't
dinner
want one.
last night, one
Some
of my
people like
friends,
them.
and like you, his friend just bought a car. He hasn't bought a new car in 17 or 18 years, similar to yours. And he's there like, the headlights, they turn on all by themselves.
Yeah. And the high beams.
It's got a TV set in it.
No, I don't have a TV.
And when I hit reverse, the back, it's like I'm looking out the back of the car through the TV set that's on the dashboard.
So also on my new van, there's indicators, little lights that flash on the sides if a car, truck, whatever it is
It's
passing.
nice. All the stuff is nice.
If I have a blinker on and I go by another vehicle, whether it's on the highway or wherever, if it's moving, if it's parked, I don't get the same thing. So the car knows that the other vehicle is moving, and it beeps at me. And the same thing happens when I go to back up. I would suggest if you have one of these types of vehicles that you back up slowly, especially in parking lots. It will beep if it senses that there's something behind it, whether it's a person or it's another car or truck or whatever it is that might be in the parking lot. I was like, whoa, this is kind of neat. And there's a number of other features that I like. And I like the fact that on the screen, it's not a huge screen. I'm glad it's not a huge screen because the bigger it is, the more I have to look at. And you're not supposed to do that when you drive. But I can push the buttons that's on the home screen, and I can get Sirius Radio, I can get Waze,
Evelyn,
I can get my
You
phone.
don't have to
It's
push any
wonderful.
buttons.
Yeah, but I haven't figured that out yet.
You
I haven't
just-
had time to do the stuff on the steering wheel
I'm going to tell you something.
so that I can tell them
When
what to
you're
do.
ready,
Go ahead.
are you sure? Okay. There's a microphone button on your steering wheel. You hit the microphone button and you tell it, make the cabin temperature 70 degrees. And it does that.
Right, but there's some other caveat.
Whatever you're looking to press a button to do, change the radio station to 980
I can do that.
WCAP.
I can do,
And it will change the radio. You don't have to touch a thing. You just hit that microphone button, and you tell the microphone what you want.
so I have been doing that, but I haven't read the owner's manual, so I got to take time to read that owner's
When
manual.
you're bored,
I know.
go onto YouTube, look up your car, and ask for voice commands. And you'll have a little YouTube that comes up and says, you can say open glove box. You can't say open the glove compartment. It doesn't understand that.
No, I got that. But when I hit the little button that has the microphone on it,
Yeah.
and I say, tune to, CNN, Fox News, 60s music.
Whatever, yeah.
Okay. If it's Sirius radio, the voice comes on and says they don't understand what I'm saying. All I'm saying is turn radio on, or show Waze, or call so-and-so. And it doesn't work. So there's something else, there's another button or something I gotta hit that I don't know anything about yet. So I'm still in the learning
I would
process.
try Tune XM Channel 60.
Okay, I'll try that and see how that works. But right now, all I have to do is hit home, hit Sirius, and my station comes up. If I hit, if I make sure that, and if I have home, I have Android Auto. If I hit that, tunes to my telephone, and if I'm on Waze, the map comes up on the screen. Somehow or another, the automatic go-to radio station on the van is Reuters. So a lot of times that will come up. So all I have to do if I don't want to see that is just tap the screen lightly, and the whole map will come up of where I'm driving. So it's kind of neat. It's entertaining, that's for sure. And I have so many telephone numbers, I have to know specifically what everything is before I can do it. So it's not all new to me, but it's just more stuff I have to know.
nice.
And I'm willing to
love
know it.
all
I'm not
the
technology
gizmos.
challenged at all, so that's kind of cool. Now, one of the other things that, since
Have
we're
you
on
started to
the,
put junk in it yet?
well, it depends on what you
See,
call
Evelyn's
junk.
former van, if she chopped a tree down and there was bark, put the bark in the back of my van. That was
I haven't done that yet.
the age of so no bark in the van
Not yet, but we've done furniture.
Bark mulch is not coming yet?
No, the bark mulch
Furniture-
wouldn't be in there. Well, we have a truck.
I understand, but it would go in the old van.
It could, but I never did. I didn't put dirt in it, and I didn't do that. Stone, things that were large enough you could pick up. Whereas with dirt, it's a mess. So I never put dirt in the back of my van, unless it was in a container. So sometimes I have buckets back there. So that was a long time ago.
Somebody put a bunch of bottled water in a box, and the box fell over the back of my van. And now the little bottle of water are rolling all over so I have to go dig those out today.
But what I have in the back
who
of my
did that
van
mess?
is I have some basic tools. If I somehow or another I lose power,
You
I've
keep
got
your burglar tools with you, yes.
I have a power source if I need to jump start the car.
can
The
you-
other thing that the
Can you
van,
plug 110 in?
I think you can.
You can plug 110 into the Tahoe.
Yeah, I think you can plug it into the van because you could plug it into the other van. This one doesn't have a DVD player in it. They got rid of those unless it's a high end, but I don't need one.
No, you have you could use a thumb drive. Put all your music on a thumb drive. It'll play the thumb drive.
There's ports everywhere. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, and there's all kinds of cool little
But you're not a music
gadgets.
person, you like talk.
I like it quiet, usually, or I just like it
You don't do
quiet.
talk radio?
Not yet. Well, talk radio,
I do
not
ta-
what
I
you
do
would call talk radio.
I do talk radio.
So, do we have another text? Did the guy?
Evelyn, do yourself a favor and disconnect all those devices from each other. Pretty soon they will be running your life behind your back. Okay.
Right now,
Give you
nothing much
cover.
is running my life except me. I like control. That's probably why I like to just push the buttons rather than telling somebody else what to do. It's kind of a neat thing in that. So,
So you like your new car?
yeah, I really don't have much of a choice. I have to either like it or deal with it,
Well, it's
and
better
I'm
than
fine.
disliking it.
Right. Well, there's not a lot of rust on it, that's for sure, because it's brand new. Gotten brand new tires. It's very quiet in comparison to the old van because all the grommets
How long
over
of a
time.
warranty did you get on the puppy?
I think it's 3 to 5 years, but there's a 200,000 mile train thing.
Drivetrain?
Drivetrain, yeah,
That doesn't
guaranteed.
count- That doesn't count any electronics.
I don't really care. I will figure it out when we get to that
When
point.
the gas gauge breaks in 4 years, you're gonna go like, I just paid $1,400 for the gas gauge.
We'll figure it out when we get to that point.
It's time to trade it in. You won't keep it long.
I'll probably get another one, I'm sure, or I'll get something a little bit
They
different.
don't make them like they used to.
I always preferred a car that,
Does it drive itself?
no, but what
I'll
it
bet it
does, but you
does.
can, no, it doesn't drive itself, but you can program it to notify you if you're too close to somebody in front of you by car lengths. And when I was at the dealers, they said something about, do you want to do this? And I said, no. I said, 1 car length is fine. I don't drive that close, but I really don't want on the dashboard, if I get too close, going
you
brake,
use-
brake, brake, brake. So, because it
you
does,
use
it jumps
cruise
at it.
control?
No,
See,
don't like cruise control.
Most cruise controls now, you set it on like 75, and it will just stay with the car that's in front of you. If the car in front of you slows down, it slows down. If it speeds up, it speeds up.
Oh, it does indicate that if I want to program that. So there was a couple of things.
And it steers.
I know that you don't read the articles, but there was a couple of things I thought that I'd bring up in case people aren't aware of
Yeah,
it.
CVS went bankrupt.
No, Rite Aid.
No, it's at CVS too, the next paragraph.
Well, hopefully CVS isn't. But when I looked up the one on Rite Aid, where are we here? In a pediatric. Okay, okay. So the article that I sent out had to
Evelyn
do
says,
with
oh,
Rite Aid.
It'll be like 3 o'clock in the morning and my phone will go boop. And it's Evelyn said, did you know that Pakistan, the mules are on strike? And, and I didn't know, I really needed to know that the mules were on strike in Pakistan at 3
So
o'clock. in
Rite
the
Aid
morning.
filed for Chapter 11 protection on May 5th this year, and they began liquidating their stores. And they
Scroll
think
down to CVS.
it says about 1,240 locations, so it's going to close all of them. And they had, I thought that I read that they had accounts with Omnicare. Omnicare was the pharmacy facility that provided prescriptions to a lot of nursing homes and private care and all this other stuff that's out there. And Omnicare files for bankruptcy protection. So that's CVS's long-term care pharmacy subsidiary. That was Omnicare LLC. And
they were
it isn't, they're filing for protection because they're connected with so many of these Rite Aid places and all these other ones.
Brett wants to know about the goodies. They'll be coming up shortly
I did
after
bake,
7.
and we can talk about food shortly. Anyway, CVS is not going bankrupt, but they are filing they are responding to what's going on with Rite Aid because they're doing business with Rite Aid. So that was one of the articles that I sent. Another one that's very, very important because in the state of Massachusetts, it's legal to purchase marijuana and all the byproducts and stuff that comes with that. And they're saying how many increases there are in hospitalizations of children. They're not, people aren't feeding their children these drugs.
They're getting into grandma's stash.
But where
Where do you keep your stash?
I don't have any. I'm not doing that.
Goody two shoes. Oh.
No, I won't do it because I heard some long-range effects dealing with heart and I have some issues and I don't want to
Evelyn, did
make that
you
worse.
know that if you swallow a small amount of saliva over many years, you'll die?
Well, of course, because we're all headed in the same direction, death. We're born to die, but the question is when
Some
and
people
how.
overdo anything. When I see a car on the highway on a day like today, and The guy's got all his windows down. What does that mean when you see a car on the highway on a day like today, it's raining,
I don't think I've
and all
ever
the
seen
windows
that.
down? What does that mean?
You drive more than I do. I don't see that. I don't know what it means.
The guy's smoking marijuana.
Oh, okay. Well, sometimes you can smell it in your car if you have your heat on and it's not, and it's from outside air. But as far, the thing is to be
I'm waiting
cautious.
for the stop sign to turn green.
So, but there is also, but anyway, I want to caution everyone who has children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, whatever, is to make sure that whatever, if you have any of these types of drugs, to make sure they're way out of reach or they're under lock and key. A lot of the different companies, because it's not as regulated as it should, are making them and packaging them like candy. And the kids think they're candy, it's kind of like getting in the cookie jar.
An 18-year-old can buy as much marijuana as he or she wants at the store.
So they said that the emergency room ingesting was up 97% when compared to the same time frame. So it's increasing far more than it should be. So people need to be cautious about that as far as that goes. And the same thing works with alcohol. Any kind of that kind of a drug. There's all kinds of other things that may look like candy, including your prescriptions and vitamins, and everything should be under lock and key because some kids just don't. They're too young to know. They may not be able to read. There may be any number of things that can happen. So we just want to be cautious and put that out there for people to be aware
So
of that.
any hot news in Chelmsford, or are you waiting for?
I'm waiting for Paul. And so Paul Cohen will be in at 7 a.m. and we'll talk about Chelmsford news and maybe there's some other stuff
Well, the
that he
big
has.
news in Lowell, they're all ticked off about Mark Lay getting away with this oil tank business, putting more oil than the oil company has. And that's the big
Oh, is that the
chatterbox in Lowell.
95,000 gallon
Yeah, they
diesel
wanna have,
problem?
like, over 100,000 gallons of diesel fuel in the property, and the neighborhood says, no. So that's the big news. So,
Well, and they're also setting up in Lowell to begin work on the Rourke Bridge with whatever they're doing out in the Merrimack River for supports. So we'll see how that goes. And I'm sure that there's a lot of other campaign information, that you deal with in the other 4 days that you have the program. Sometimes we have those individuals here. One of the other articles that I had, which I thought was very interesting, that I sent this morning, only so that I would have it, because I'm not going to be looking for it, is that out in the Mojave Desert, they had put in a $2-point-something billion solar panel farm, and they're helping to generate electricity.
Mojave in California?
Yeah, somewhere out that way, or Utah. So what they're doing is they are powering it by natural gas. And they said that they're going to shut it down. And
Where is the Mojave Desert?
it's in California. Viewed from the bottom line. Okay, so it's called Ivanpah,
Do you want
apparently.
directions?
Is it?
That's directions. It goes up to Vegas.
Oh, okay. It features towers and thousands of mirrors. They're saying every year 6,000 birds die
Can you imagine
if they
how
fly
hard
through
it is
that.
installing that thing?
Well, they say it's useless because it's not generating electricity or enough electricity. They thought it was going to generate enough electricity to cover the whole city of Las Vegas. It's not doing anything like that. And so they're very concerned, so everybody should take a look if they're interested in that. I need to do a little bit more research because when you have all these environmentalists, and you would think that if you had 6,000 birds a year die just in that one area for solar panels, they'd do some kind of research on how many animals are dying as a result of all of these
I would think they like the
alternative forms
shade.
of energy. No, with
Well, they
the,
never had any shade from
well, those,
the desert.
this is different. This is a series of mirrors, and when they fly through where the mirror is reflecting the sun, it fries them because of the heat level. You know that you can take a mirror and you can put it onto paper and it will burn,
with a magnifying glass.
and you can do it that way too. So if you have series like that, that's what happens. And the same thing happens with windmills, is that the birds may not be able to see them. So there was an article, and I got to look this up, that there was some country that had windmills. They painted the blades black, and they had a lot less bird kill. So maybe the reflections off of
Birds
the
don't fly at night?
well, they're not going to see them anyway, regardless, even if it's the other windmill. So during the day, they've cut down their bird kill as a result of doing this. I thought it was kind of fascinating. And I'm assuming that you have the reflections off the silver, but you have no reflection off black. So if the bird sees the black, it's going to avoid it.
Most birds are dumb.
I wouldn't
They
go there.
fly into the
They fly in a
jet
window.
engines.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's because they're in the path of their
Look,
migration.
Charlie, here comes that jet plane again. Let's fight the jet plane.
I don't know. There's all kinds of crazy stuff.
And then they have we've had a bird strike.
Well, anyway,
Stuff happens. And I get a kick out of people talking about rooster fights. And it's terrible how they have rooster fights. Where do you think you got a chicken sandwich from? Where do you think that chicken came from? We slaughtered a chicken for that. It's just puzzling how they make a big deal out of some things that they shouldn't.
so I'm looking at past articles that we had, but there's a lot of we have about, 15 minutes? And was Paul going to call you or just come in? I didn't lock the door on the way in. Should I have locked the door?
I told you to lock the door. I told you I have video of somebody trying to get in your car. You don't remember that?
Oh, yeah, that's why I make sure I lock my van.
Oh, they didn't lock my door.
Well, anyway,
That was dumb.
I can get up and lock it now.
Go ahead.
You want me to do that?
No, Paul's coming now, 15 minutes.
Yeah, he's usually early. Again, Sam Chase isn't here with us this morning. He wasn't feeling well. We hope things get better
So
with
look
him.
at any good shopping sites before, you're pretty tight with the buck. Any good shopping suggestions for our audience?
No, I haven't been doing that much, but because usually I just order stuff online, and I just
We
kind of
oughta-
surf Amazon.
We got this chandelier in the other room, and it's been broken for like 4,000 years. Since it broke like a year ago. So yesterday, the electrician came by, and he had taken off the ceiling, and the wire in the ceiling had somehow became disconnected.
And that's all that was wrong?
Works like a champ. And the first thing my favorite sister-in-law said, instead of saying, boy, the chandelier's working, that's great, there's a bulb burnt out. That's the first thing comes out of her mouth. So I get out my German gloves and I just boom, boom. And so we had to order matching light bulbs. They came the next day.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing.
We ordered them in the afternoon from Amazon, and Amazon dropped them off the next day. And they're like, wow, that's incredible.
So I would suggest when anybody's ordering anything, whether it's Amazon or any other site, is that you make sure that you review your receipts. There was something Glenn ordered over the weekend, and I said, what was it? So he went on, and because all of the charges come through on my phone, and whatever he ordered, and he went on in the receipt, he says, wait a minute, there's $6 in sales tax. He says, there shouldn't be $6 in sales
Yeah,
tax.
there is.
Not on $15. So when you,
Probably retroactive.
yeah, funny. But anyway, so he did contest all of that, and I think they took that charge off and
Because I
went through
got
everything.
sales tax.
Yes, but it's
Bart says this to you, kind of like trying to save the fish while eating a tuna sandwich. Good point.
well, I'm not eating the wild birds, that's for sure.
But you having chicken, right?
I eat chicken,
Okay.
and I eat fish. But I'm not trying to, I'm not the tree hugger.
I'll have a large tuna.
Well, there's not a lot of stuff left, that's for sure. When we were talking about weather earlier and different things going on, there are an awful lot more earthquakes that are happening in the Pacific. And then there was some mega typhoon out there. And
well, I looked-
180 miles an hour in wind.
Yesterday, I put on one internet thing, and it shows this skyscraper falling into the ocean. And they're like, impossible. And then the next thing is this cruise ship that's getting enveloped by this wave.
It's all AI generated.
Impossible.
Yeah. Everybody has to be very cautious about what you now see, because a lot of stuff, people are generating false photos.
I saw Joe Biden help President Biden get up after, I'm sorry, I saw Joe Biden help President Trump get up off the ground after President Trump fell off his skateboard.
People are doing some interesting stuff out there, so I would caution everybody about that. And then on Facebook, and I'm certainly sure there's an awful lot of this out there, Reels, REELS, are out there, and some of them are definitely not real, REAL. And so you want to be cautious. Some of the information coming across, what I then do is Google it to see if it's real, REAL. And there was one of them, it was, I forget what time it was, what the date was, but it was like 20 plus years ago. The guy has since died. Prophesied to a certain point that Charlie Kirk would die and his wife would take over. Basically, that's where it's at.
Give me the Powerball. That's very interesting. Give me the Powerball number. That's what I'd be asking.
It was
that
funny,
guy.
whatever Glenn was asking on his telephone last night, and it says, "Can I help you with anything else?" And I said, "Ask it what the mega numbers are going to be, the Mega Million numbers." You never know. You might get an answer, and maybe you will know. And
Would you run down to the store? You wouldn't invest the $2.
I don't know. Well, I don't have to go very
When was the
far.
last time you bought a lottery ticket?
I can't remember. Probably 12 years ago.
See, even if they gave you the number, you wouldn't buy it. See, I know I'm going to win someday, so I throw $2. Now one of my friends convinced me $3. You throw $3 at it, and you can win a lot more money. So I'm doing that now.
It's all a matter of chance, and the probability is definitely against you. And so
That
playing
ray
the
of
odds, I've
sunshine's
never
gonna
played
hit
the odds.
Somebody, Evelyn. That ray of sunshine's going to hit somebody.
So growing up, I
You
spent a
grew
lot,
You were once a little girl?
yes. So when I was a lot shorter, and a lot
See, you're
younger,
taller
and a
than
lot
me now.
thinner,
How tall are you?
about 5'8".
Okay.
I haven't shrunk much.
I've shrunk.
I haven't shrunk much, and I'm wondering whether or not it has to do with having 2 hips replaced. But usually the shrinkage
Oh, you got
is
a lot of
in
plastic?
and my shoulders.
How old is your Kubota? Seems as if you have First Communion
22
pictures.
years?
First Communion pictures on a Kubota, and they're like, she's had that a long time.
Oh, yeah, I don't have that many hours on it. We'll talk about that in a second.
We could talk about it now. What's more important?
Because you
than a-
keep changing the
a
subject. I
Kubota?
never finished what I'm
Because-
saying.
Because, Evelyn, nobody wants to go to crush depth about a backup cam. It's a backup. You hit reverse. Oh, isn't that nice?
I wasn't talking about that. I guess that's the teacher in me. If you ask me a question, I want to make sure that you get all of the information so that you know about all of the things that's involved.
A little bit. A little bit.
I don't mind talking about my tractor. You want to talk about food? We can talk about food.
Have you been to any restaurant? Like last night, I went to dinner with one of my friends. We went to the establishment.
Oh,
and
did you like
was
it?
Delicious. I had
Come a long way.
turkey hamburger that was out of this world.
Now, you were in the hospital. Did they put you on any special diet or
Well, I'll
recommendations for
tell
a
you.
diet?
If you're stuck in Lowell General Hospital, consider the chicken stew. That's good stuff. I wanted the chicken pie. They wouldn't give me the chicken pie because of the crust. But they said to my wife, who was ordering the food for me, that he can have the chicken stew. And the chicken stew, once I had that, I got that every night. It was delicious. And we got home, and my darling wife, Dr. McDonough, replicated it.
Oh,
And
she
we
tasted
had
it?
We had delicious chicken stew right here at home. Yummy. Loved it. But last night I had a turkey burger with cheese, and oh, it was wonderful. From the establishment in North Chelmsford. Not that there's such a place on the planet as North Chelmsford, but they have their own post office, so they call it North Chelmsford.
It's a different zip code.
Whoop-de-doo. They don't call it Pawtucketville. It is,
It's only if it's a-
Llewellyans will use the word Pawtucketville, but nobody else.
It's only a different,
Here comes the boss man now, that's good.
if it's a different zip code, then we have, you call it something different. They do that in the
Morning,
city of
Mr.
Quincy.
Manager. Do you want a cup of coffee or water? Water, okay.
Oh, we're fine. You can come sit down, Paul.
You on the air?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, John asked about my Kubota.
Public access.
We can ask Paul if he has a tractor. But
I bet he does. John Deere, he's a John Deere guy.
we have a lawn tractor. We have a John Deere lawn tractor. In fact, we have two, one in both locations. But right now, the tractor is at the New Hampshire location. And I've been using it quite a bit this summer. I was able.
Evelyn's, it's like a baby bulldozer with a bucket in the front. Can pick up big rocks.
Oh, yeah,
Heavy
you have to know how to do it so you don't have to put the rocks in. And some of them are really big, and they're so big that you can't get the bucket up any more than an inch off the ground, so you have to be careful, or you have to push it, or you have to roll it. But I was able to finish the 250-foot small wall going down the road in front of the property. I was able to move all of the dirt and everything that they had because we're building special walls to hold back dirt. So I was able to do that. I built a new fire pit. Then I filled in the old fire pit.
Do you use the fire pit?
Yes. Because we
You know,
have,
in Lowell, you can buy a fire pit.
well, we have one of those too. And we have a
Fire
chimney.
department won't come over and tell you gotta put that out.
And we have a chimney, but we're very cautious about what we do. We have the hose right there just in case, but there's a lot of sand around
chimney.
it. And we're right on water, so it's
Wait a
highly
second.
unlikely we have too much problem.
Wait a second. What's a chimney?
Well, when you get back over there, you can you look it up so people understand
No,
what
no,
it is.
no, enlighten
So,
the audience.
I'm trying to think of how to describe
Never
it.
heard the word chimney. I don't want crushed depth, I just want a basic, is it something you can put fire in?
Yes.
Okay.
And it
So
had, and
you put
usually it
wood
had,
in there? You
it
put
looks,
wood or paper?
you can burn anything in it, as long as you can burn.
So you
It's
take.
not very big. It's only about this big,
Yeah.
okay? We also have a cauldron, if we want to have.
Cauldron, oh,
Yeah.
do you have
If
to
we
put
want to
this
have a
half in a
metal.
cauldron?
No, if we want to have a metal, it's a metal thing, so we've been having small fires, very small,
What would
in
you use a
comparison,
cauldron for?
to put fires in. It's contained, and it goes in a much smaller space.
A cauldron is a thing for making witch's brew.
Well, looks like a cauldron to me. It's a metal fire pit, but it's
No, the
not,
chimney thing you're talking about. So it's a small thing with a chimney?
yeah. It's not any more than, I would say,
How high?
5 feet
How
high,
high is the chimney?
4 or 5 feet, if that.
See,
And this is
speaking
heavy
of
cast
chimneys, see-
cast iron.
The Lowell chimneys for the,
It's not,
The Lowell
it's made out of
chimneys-
metal.
I'm changing the subject. You went down a boring path, so. The Lowell chimneys are 200 feet high. Some are 250 feet high.
This is a little thing.
This Markley group over there, they have, they want to put out a bunch of generators. They should have a 200-foot chimney that exhausts, so it won't go into the neighborhood. And they meet state code. And I told the city councilor who was here, I said to her, speed limit on 495 is 65. What is it in Lowell? 25. So if you're going to have 25 generators, you got to have a 200-foot chimney. Because all the smoke will go up 200 feet. You exhaust the noise through that. Problem goes away. 200-foot chimney.
I would have to think about this. I don't want to think about it now. It's too early. Anyway, you asked more
Well, see,
about,
luckily, I'm going to go and we're going to go to break. And the town manager can wake up and come over here.
he's relaxing.
Yeah, he's having a good time. Well, I got to get him some water too.
Anyway, babbling, you were the one that kept changing the subject. I couldn't stay on anything that was, like, for me, that was important, that I wanted to talk about.
Harsh death.
What I wanted to talk about was, all the stuff that currently is going on with free speech. So maybe we'll talk about that next week if Sam comes back, because free speech doesn't mean that you put out lies and spew hatred and stir up everything and riots. Anyway, we'll be back at 7 or a little after 7 with City Life. And sure. Welcome back to City Life. I'm Evelyn Thoren. I am your host for about 58 minutes until we end our program. And as you notice, we don't have any co-hosts this morning, but Hoey is still recovering, and we wish him well and hope that he'll come back soon. Sam Chase wasn't feeling too well this morning, so he has chosen to stay home, which is advisable. Our guest this morning is Paul Cohen. Thanks so much for coming on. Paul, we had to reschedule because John was in the hospital and he had to postpone that, so it's nice to be able to have you on to tell people a little bit more about what's going on in Chelmsford. And there is always a lot going on, or with some people, they don't think anything's going on. We do have town meeting coming up on October 20th. How many warrant articles are there?
35.
That's a lot of articles. How much is in consent agenda?
Well, there's 2 consent agendas this town meeting. One is just a simple 4-article consent agenda at the beginning of the meeting, which is customary for just some ministerial things like, cemetery fund and no action on a couple of articles and transferring the sewer stabilization fund. But the bigger consent agenda, which is we expect will take up the second evening of the meeting, is about a dozen articles, and that's all zoning articles. And why it's a consent agenda, it all relates to a new proposed zoning district that the planning board has brought forward to town meeting. And in order to effectively do it, you really need to do it as a bundle, because when you adopt zoning, you've got to adopt the definition, you've got to adopt the map, the uses, the setbacks. And so really, you don't want that piecemeal. So either people want the article, and just to put it in perspective, it's a commercial district that is a transitional commercial district between industrial and residential. It's called CB Light. And again, in order to effectively do that, you really need to do it as a whole, because you don't want parts of a bylaw that aren't there. And I guess you could have theoretically done it as one whole article, but it would have just been massive. And it is massive, and it's going to be presented by Planning Board Chair Chris LaValle in one presentation. But it's just what people need to understand is your bylaws are sort of like your definition in a dictionary. Everything has to be scripted and in an order, and that's how it's maintained by code and section and so forth. And so that's why it gets to be that painstaking, because believe it or not, there is an official record of the town's bylaws that are kept by the state, and and so therefore you have to be precise, because if anyone, whenever there's a legal question or a use of the bylaw, then it's that codified. And I know it's a long-winded way of saying that basically it's done precisely because it is a legal document, just like a state law or a federal law.
Well, that certainly tells, I mean, I know what it is, but it tells everybody, exactly what's
Why-
going on
why is
with
it
regard to that. Are there other communities that are doing the same thing? These are questions that you're going to get.
No, not that I'm aware of. I mean, other communities obviously have different zone districts, and this is a means to, again, the planning board has been identifying and trying to bring some harmony to industrial, commercial, and residential uses. And so what it is it's sort of like an intermediary step that if someone's at the periphery of a residential use and commercial, examples would be Kate's Corner, which is the one that will be brought forward at this town meeting, specifically applied by this bylaw, if approved.
But it doesn't change what they're doing.
No, it doesn't change the allowed use of what they're doing, but the concern is always nothing lasts forever. And therefore, the question is, well, what would come in afterwards? So, for example, if Lockheed Martin were to leave after 50 years in South Chelmsford there, and then under the current industrial zoning, you could have a manufacturer come in here and have smokestacks and smoke and all the things that you wouldn't want.
And so these things are addressed in the
Right,
changes
exactly.
for the new bylaw.
Exactly. So it is very lengthy and it's very wordy, and that's why we've pushed the agenda out online ahead of time, and the Finance Committee is going to meet this evening, make its final recommendations, and then this report will come out in the next 2 weeks. And so, it seems like there's harmony, meaning there doesn't appear to be any organized opposition to the proposal. I think people understand why the planning board's doing it, what the purpose is. The select board have endorsed the article. The planning board, obviously, I think it's expected that the finance committee will endorse it, and I think it's expected that town meeting will adopt it, because again, it's not meant to be punitive. It's really meant to be transitional in terms of helping have harmony, because the one thing we learn in government and in life, nothing stays the same. And as technology and operations, and in this case, these are, in the case of Lockheed Martin, it's a technical scientific basis. Nothing would impede what they're doing or they want to do there. But again, nothing lasts forever, as we know, living in a city that had Wang and other places, is that you want to be prepared for future steps. And again, not, be looking forward in terms of, what uses do we want. And, for example, you wouldn't want a paper mill in an industrial area, in today's world, and those type of things.
Yeah, paper mill uses a lot of water.
Yeah, it also has emissions and so forth,
So
and traffic.
they must
commercial
have got
traffic.
the idea from someplace. It just didn't come out of the fact that Chelmsford has
No.
this. So even in school committee, there's an awful lot of stuff that other people are doing, whether it's in the state or it's some nationwide. So where did they get the idea of changing this?
I think the idea comes from is when proposals get brought to the planning board in the community, there's often concerns from neighbors, whether it's a car wash on Chelmsford Street or a drive-through. Currently, the one on Chelmsford Street right now at the Chelmsford Mall is a drive-through. And so I think when they keep hearing concerns as society evolves and people's attitudes evolve, they're trying to maintain the bylaws into what the community wants to go forward with. And in fact, the same planning board last evening has implemented a growth management study, task force that basically answers that question, Evelyn's, what does the town of Chelmsford want to be in 20 years in terms of development and growth? Because everyone can adopt MBTA zoning, and you can adopt, all kinds of open space plans and all kinds of, master plans and so forth. But the real difficult question is in today is where do we want to be 20 years from now as a community? And every community is doing that, but in a real serious way, instead of, a paper way, saying, what is it that we want? Because, right now we know, for example, the state is pushing housing. And right now we also know the economy is softening in terms of job creation. And the question, and we also know we have limitations, for example, in sewer, and even water and so forth. And so the question becomes is in traffic. And so people what do we want to just stay the way we are? Obviously people are concerned about change, but change is constant. And so how do we want to guide the community going forward? And so I think this zoning sort of falls into a part of that in terms of what do people want their community to be in today's mindset. And today's mindset is very different than the mindset of 20 years ago or 40 years ago. And obviously it will change again in another 20 years, what have you.
Well, it's nice to have a little bit more foresight as far as that. But you did bring up something. I mean, I know we're going to talk about town meeting, which I was going to ask you. Is Lockheed Martin entertaining buying where the old Agway used to be? Are they working on that?
Yes. And that obviously raised concerns because people in the neighborhood said, well, if they were to acquire that, and what would that mean in terms of traffic, in terms of what use would they have of that? Would it just be a parking lot, or would they be an addition to the building? Because the Agway is on the other side of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail.
Yeah.
And so I think that, and therefore most likely would involve, if you would think, is they would expand in their current parking lot area and then move the parking to the Agway lot. And again, zoning has to permit that because that now creates a parking lot as an accessory use that's detached from the parcel because it's on the other side of the rail trail.
How many acres is the Agway site?
Oh gosh, I don't know off the top of my head. I know it's significant. Yeah.
Okay, so it's significant.
Yeah.
If they chose to do a building, it would be. Just
go ahead.
hold that thought, because of how close the other building is to the rail trail. They could build up so that you
walkway.
have a walkway
Yeah.
over, and so therefore there's no interference with regard to the bike path.
Yeah.
And I think, in my head, that's what I would do. Now, they could use that for storage, they could use it for offices, and all of the parking then is still where the parking is. So therefore, you could have some small parking, like Agway had, and Maxwell's, and then the building portion of it would be whatever it was that they would need. And in some cases, it's kind of like the addition that we wanted to put on in New Hampshire. You have to be on the footprint of whatever was there, or you have to go through a lot of permitting.
Yep.
And so if it's similar to they can build a bigger building, but as far as the parking, like you say, if they're going to expand that, that's a concern. So it would be interesting to see how that would work. They also have to take into consideration when Lockheed does this, which I'm sure they're aware since they've been there a long time, there's a lot of water that falls onto their property.
Yeah, and the beauty part of
rains.
it is today the parking lot at Agway is not built with today's stormwater control and purification system. So that's been discussed that if they were to utilize that parking lot, either, let's say they used it as a parking lot, the Agway building, you would actually have a better treatment of stormwater or rainwater that would obviously go into the ground and into the lake area, at Hart Pond than you have today. So that would be an improvement, and somehow people scratch their heads and say, oh, yeah, that's right. What's there now is just street runoff and parking lot runoff. But as you know, with today's groundwater standards, treatment standards, you have to put oil water separators and
there's a whole lot of
basins
stuff
and
that
so
you
forth.
have to
So
do.
anyway, it's very
And I
expensive,
remember-
but it would be an enhancement to the water supply.
Right, but living in South Chelmsford, I do remember it flooding. And
Yep.
so the drainage wasn't that great. So for what it was, for any of us that lived in that area, it would definitely, it will improve depending upon what they do. I don't like having the idea of having more parking lot because that's more solid surface. Having the building, yes, a solid surface, but to me, it's different because of the way you have to have drains. Not that you can't on a parking lot.
Right.
But,
But it's all impervious one way or the other,
Yeah.
whether it's a building or a parking lot with
Right.
bituminous, it's
but when they build the
impervious.
building, they have to do the drainage for the parking lot that will be better than what is currently there. So that was one of the things that I was wondering about. So, so the big topic would be the bylaws. Is there anything else that's on the town warrant that you think will take time? Of course, it's hard to predict.
I think it'll be a two-session town meeting. The first night, I think we'll get through probably mostly everything but the big zoning change. And then the second night, we'll begin with that consent agenda, that bundled consent articles for the zoning change. And then of course, there are a few other zoning changes that they're bringing back. You may recall the definition of family.
Oh, yeah.
That's coming back. The removal of, updating our bylaws to remove consideration of school children and so forth, which is not allowed under state law, but our bylaws need to be updated. They're addressing the definition of massage parlors. And
I remember when
they're-
that first came,
Yeah.
because I've been involved since,
No.
there was a lot, there was some lady, the original town meeting
Mm-hmm.
for that is, there was a lady that wanted to start a business, and it wasn't zoned for that. And
Exactly.
and there was a lot of education that occurred with town meeting reps, and she wanted to make sure that people understood that it wasn't something that was illegal or pornographic
Yeah.
or whatever, and that she took it seriously, and that was a long time ago. But
And
it's
in
funny,
t-
what you do remember is some things come up.
And in today's regulatory environment, the Board of Health no longer regulates massage parlors. It's done by the state. So we have to amend the bylaw to comply with the state law. So a lot of it is housekeeping.
Well, you should
Yeah.
ask the state how many inspectors they have.
So that, and then obviously the first night would be more the financial aspects. We close the year in the black. We have about 4.8 million in free cash, which is about 2-point-something% of our budget. And so we're going to take those one-time monies from the close of the year and really put it into our capital infrastructure. $1 million for roads, about 2.5 million to do more portions of the replacement of the McCarthy School roof, which, as you know, is a huge building.
Well, it's interesting to be old enough or to be around long enough that this is the third roof
Exactly.
that I've seen.
Yeah, that roof, but the current roof is over 20 years old there.
Right, but when they replaced that roof,
Yeah, it was built in 50.
they had not done what they needed to do, so it was a much bigger project because of what was under it that they had to remove. And so it's nice that it's lasted this long. But there's a drop dead point for anything and everything. So it's interesting to see that, just like with South Row,
Yep.
to see what's going on down there and to find out, what the school department may be doing or not doing with all of the portable classrooms that are at McCarthy. And if that's in some long-range plan, because they were really bad 10 years ago. So you have, all those things coming up. Now so there's nothing else on town meeting?
No, I mean, you get the citizen petition on Coolest Farm, which may get resolved by town meeting, but that's an advisory question.
Well, you have the ATEF. and
You got the effort like the whole city council did about proposing to ban the use of the rodenticides that are harmful to wildlife, and that would require a home rule petition to the legislature to allow the town to prohibit their use in the community.
So what would that entail in terms of items that you would be prohibiting people from using?
Those products, what's called the second generation anticoagulant rodenticides, SGARs.
Okay. I know what those are.
Yep. So that's proposed, and again, because we're a town, not a city, that has to go to town meeting for adoption, and the town's no longer using them as the town government, meaning we're not using them in our schools or our municipal buildings.
So is it
But this would be
only,
a prohibition across the community.
so it's only the chemicals?
Yes.
Okay, because there's other things that's out there that people want to ban too.
Right, but again, we don't have the authority to do that, and ideally, the state would address this issue, kind of like the plastic bags or the other stuff, but when the state doesn't address these issues, towns like Billerica, Chelmsford, Lowell, and so forth come in and adopt these individual one-offs in an effort to, address the issues locally.
Well, I understand why they want to do that. We don't have any rats. I don't know if there's any rats on Pinewood Road, but I mean, I have not seen any. And in
sure
all
they're
the
there.
years I've been there, I'm sure they're there, but they need to have a food source.
Right.
There's plenty of mice, there's plenty of moles and voles, and there's
It's
plenty
the
of
country, you expect these things.
squirrels and chipmunks. The
Lions
mice,
and
yes, we
tigers
do
and
use the
bears?
poison for the mice, because there's no other way to get rid of them. And they're, most of it, what we use is in the garage. Most of what we find are dead mice in the garage, they're not outside. So I haven't seen any evidence on my property of anything that would have had that was out on the property. Now, sometimes what's interesting, not that people need to know this, Glenn had one of the cars parked and we had like 2 feet of snow. So he moves the car and because it had sat there were mice in it. Well,
Yeah,
the
they
mice
crawl in
came
the
out of the
engine.
car,
Yeah.
but they couldn't go anywhere and the hawk happened to be
Oh,
above. So the mice left.
okay.
No poisons in the car, no nothing
Right.
like that, because I try to keep Glenn under control with what he does with some of the stuff. So even in the sheds that we have, there's none of that out there, because they're coming in and out of there. So you have to be aware of what you're focusing on in terms of getting rid of stuff. So I'm trying to use cinnamon, cloves, peppermint, any number of things in order to keep the rodents out of my sheds. Because I would rather do stuff like that rather than trying to do what they're trying to prohibit. If I had rats, I think it would be a different situation. But right now, I see none.
Right, and it's not that people, the concern is the second generation
Yes, the owls
rodenticides.
pick it up,
Right,
the fox pick
foxes,
it up.
And then they die because they ingest it. Yeah.
Yes, and the rat stuff is far more potent than the mice stuff. And the mice stuff, they changed the formula on it, so it really doesn't kill mice as much as it did.
Right.
So they have modified some things in case people want to know. So when we were talking about town meeting and you were talking about budget and capital plans, is the budget structure that we have and the numbers and everything that we have, I know how it works in terms, and I'm sure the answer is going to be yes, but I have to ask the question. Is that consistent from one city to another in town? Do they set up their budgets similarly?
Yeah, it's similar, yeah. I mean, there's no state prescribed method of how you do a budget, but as you know, and being on the school committee has to report their budget in accordance with the state codes and uses.
Yeah.
In terms of how money's spent in terms of special education, regular education, instruction, materials, salaries, so forth. And generally, towns have the same type of structure. You do it departmentally. Police, fire, salaries, expenses, benefits, and so forth. So yeah, it's a general structure, but it does vary from town to town of how you sort of group things. Like we group ours into what I call categories. Public safety, municipal administration, human services, and so forth. And that's how we vote them. We don't vote them at town meeting down to the individual departmental line item.
Well, see, in the schools, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education collects all that data so
Right.
that they can make comparisons with
Right.
everything else, and then that way, then they know in terms of what communities do you compare with what communities.
Right,
Then they can,
and net school spending, yeah.
yes, and then they can also come up with, the percentages in terms of budgets that's special ed versus whatever, so they can do that analysis. As technology advances, it's going to be a whole lot easier or better, and I don't know how up-to-date all that stuff is.
No,
And
it
I
is.
haven't followed I'm trying to think of the name of it. I
It's
was
the, end
on-
of, it's the end of year report is what you submit to the state that has all that to the and I think the school department, if they haven't submitted it, they're real close for the year that just finished last July, June 30th.
It's interesting when you sit here, or when I sit here, and I remember all of the different things that I was involved with when I was on the school committee, and one of it was the Digital Learning Advisory Committee, and I don't know if that still exists. I came off of that. I was the representative from the Mass Association of School Committees on there, and I was the oldest person on that committee. And I kept trying to support public education because you had think tank individuals. You know, you people that weren't necessarily in the arena of public school education on a day-to-day basis, and to give them a new perspective. And some of them got it after a while, because I wasn't into as much of the technology that they wanted to do. But that was interesting to see whether or not that still happens. Now, is there
Well,
anything else? Oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, I think the big focus today is what are the degree requirements for graduation. And if you saw, there was the task force initial thoughts were released yesterday by the lieutenant governor at an event in Randolph or something about, again, what is it that every high school student in the state should have as an education in terms of proficiency in order to graduate. And of course, the teachers union, as well as the last ballot question, don't want there to be a standardized test. But then the question becomes is, well, what is it that students should have? And now there's some talk about, well, do we tie it to what colleges want for admissions?
I watched that on the TV this morning.
Yeah,
It's going to be an evaluation.
yeah, right. And so that's subjective. That's the tough
You
part.
passed.
Right, right. Whereas
That's what
a
our state's
standardized
gonna do.
test was
For 20
objective.
grand, how much you getting a student? Are we getting 20 grand a
It's
student?
close to 20
15?
grand a student.
Yeah, it's
About 20
going.
grand a student. And you're going to get pass, fail.
Yeah,
I don't agree with that.
right.
Well, this is the time for the public to push back and get rid of, what are they called? Ding Dong School in Boston. There's a word for it, that they rule all the schools, Ding Dong School.
Oh, I don't remember. That's not familiar to me.
Desi, Ding Dong School.
Oh, jeez. I would never have called it that, but that's okay. It
That's
is-
what they are. What do they do? Pass, fail. That's what they just gave you. Ding Dong School. My
Well,
words, not yours.
I believe in going back to the old-fashioned way of doing things, if you want to talk about old-fashioned, because it seemed to work then, it doesn't work now. But I'll leave it at that. We were talking about schools.
Yep.
So we have a secondary school building project.
Yes.
And you said that there's some new information with
Yeah.
regard to that since you were here before.
Yeah, on Monday evening, well, a week ago today, the Parker School Building Committee, which is the committee that's overseeing the feasibility of this project, recommended the selection of architectural firm AI3 Architects out of Framingham, Mass, as the designer or slash architect for the proposed school project. They were chosen through a procurement process that involved the Massachusetts School Building Authority, in which it was a panel of about 15 people. The state brings in a dozen, and then the town has 3, meaning the superintendent of the schools, the chair of the school committee, and the town manager. And we went through the procurement process of soliciting proposals, selecting who to interview, conducting interviews, and then making a selection. And that was ratified by our school building committee and by the select board this past Monday evening. And so on Tuesday, I signed the contract on behalf of the town as authorized by the select board under our charter. And so that we now have AI3 on board, and what that means is they've already had an initial meeting with some of the core school instructional personnel, and most importantly for the community, within a month or so, at the end of October, you'll start seeing the public input sessions and discussions in terms of what, design for a new school, middle school, that would, grade configuration. Is the 3 options we have to study are replacement of 5-6, which is what Parker does today, a 5-6-7-8, which means you would consolidate Parker and McCarthy into a school that would be
mega school.
larger than the high school, or a configuration of 4, 5, and 6, which means you would pull a grade out of the elementary schools to free up space in the elementary
Aren't they
schools.
leaning that way?
Yeah, that is sort of the preference, because we have a space issue, because as you noted, all of Chelmsford schools were built in the 1960s, up until the high school that was constructed began in 72. We don't have the space for today's educational needs. So the idea, if you were to pull the 4th grade out, of the elementary schools that would free up space for one-on-one instructional and other and growth in the community, because the population does grow, even though the enrollment's been kind of steady but projected to grow. So that has to take place and so forth. And so those public sessions will take place in October, November, and December, and then the plan is to go back to the MSBA in January with sort of a status report on schematic design in terms of, okay, what grade configuration are you choosing? Okay, now do you do a renovation and expansion, or do you do a new building, and so forth? So most likely this will end with a ballot vote and town meeting vote in 2027, probably first quarter or first half of 27, which is only about 15, 18 months away. So that's the goal. And then if that were to take place, then you would then have to go through the full design, bidding, construction. So you're probably talking a school occupied by the year 2030.
Have they done the projected enrollment numbers
Yeah.
to 2030? Because
Yes.
it goes out so far, sometimes enrollment will drop. I don't particularly see enrollment dropping that much in
No.
Chelmsford.
They brought in NEASC, which you're familiar with them.
Yeah.
Who does that, to do the enrollment projection, yes.
What was interesting, in 1998, Bernie Lynch had the school building committee, or whatever it was that we had in then. It was a sizable committee, and you hired a firm. They evaluated all the spaces in all the schools, because we didn't know what we were going to do. As a result, without going into all the details with regard to that committee, it was determined that they would look at secondary schools, because it would be too much to try to redo all the elementary schools, but they would throw capital money every year in order to keep those schools up to par, maintenance-wise, which is what you
Has
inherited,
happened since
and
then,
that's
yeah.
what you have continued, and added more money to it. And so we have a lot of good things that has happened with taxpayers' money in comparison to maybe some other communities, or cities, I should say, in the state, because they have other drains on their budget that we don't have, or as much. But anyway, as a result of that, that's what they did, and then we ended up with these projects that did not pass. So it'll be interesting to see the bottom line of this one and how that would work. And laying the groundwork for a positive vote should start now, with updates that would be emailed out to all those parents. Because here's the latest update on the school, this is what we're doing, this is the amount of money, keep it simple. And that's because many of them will not have children in the school system by the time you want to do this.
Yeah.
And it's obvious that I won't have any grandchildren in the school system, but I'm trying to think, in 5 years. So it'll be, not that I don't have friends that have grandchildren in the system, because my sister-in-law lives next door. She has a much younger granddaughter, and so that's another extra time frame. And if it goes to 4, 5, and 6, that's something that may happen there.
Yeah,
But-
there will be a project website launched in the next few weeks that
Okay.
will hopefully provide that information. to
Right,
people.
but make sure, we would need to make sure, I mean, Jay will be coming in
Yep.
at some point this month, and we want to make sure that all those links are continually out there, because some people just miss stuff. John?
It's your favorite part of the show.
Oh, we had some announcements.
Yes, we do. So I'm going to shut your mics off. You guys can chit-chat over there. They can only hear me unless you guys really get loud over there. Rita Mercy's having a party, and campaign party to re-elect Rita Mercy, council at large. Please come join me at the Mount Pleasant Country Club, 141 Staples Street in Lowell. That's up in the Highlands. October 3rd, 6 to 9 p.m. It's a Friday, $10 a ticket. Come hungry, because there's always a ton of food there, so I know I'll be there. Thank you, Rita, for doing that. Moving right along to the next one. The Bridge Club is having the Person of the Year award. Now, what you can do is, I'm going to shrink this down so it fits on the screen. And do this guy. There we go. All right, that's better. Okay. So if you take your fancy phone out of your pocket, and you like the Bridge Club helps people who are addicted to anything get off that addiction. So great place to helps people out. They're saving lives down there every day. Take your phone out of your pocket, your smartphone out of your pocket, put it in camera mode, and zero in on this here with your camera. And that will come up to a website, and you can send them some money. If you're hungry and you want to come and celebrate with them, they're going to have a fantastic party. I go to this every year. Thursday, October 9th, and out to Lindsay's, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. dinner, $125 a person, $1,250 a table of 10. And they're going to honor Karen Frederick. Karen Frederick, she was the leader and the gigantic expander of community teamwork. She's helped out thousands and thousands of people in her career, her and her colleagues at the community teamwork. So the Bridge Club is honoring Karen Frederick. So it's going to be quite the event. Derek Sanderson, former Bruin's going to be there. And the Bridge Club helps a lot of people. If you want to have a tax write-off, really give a donation. You can, different levels you can sponsor. And this is the Bridge Club, and I'll scroll down. Take your fancy phone out of your pocket, zero in on this guy right here, and you can send them a donation as we speak. Now this next one is Eric Gitchie's party. Eric Gitchie is having a party October 16th, and his party is going to be at the Wappin Weft downtown Lowell. And here we go. It's 197 Market, $25. Donations begin at $25 and go up. And that's going to be October 16th at the Wappin Weft for Eric Gitchie, Lowell City Council, 5:30 to 8 p.m. Thanks for doing that, Eric. And then coming up in Tewksbury, this is the best breakfast deal of the year. Everyone is invited. That means you. They don't care where you live. You don't have to live in Tewksbury. They're happy to have you come out to the Tewksbury Senior Center, Sunday, October 26th, 8:30 to noon. Scrumptious, bountiful breakfast for $10 for adults. No reservation required, just show up. And they'll have eggs, bacon, sausage, home fries, juice, toast. Fantastic thing. And this, Mark Kratman's the chief cook and bottle washer here, and he has a lot of his friends help him make this happen. So it's a great way to start your Sunday, have a second cup of coffee, and chat with friends. And hope to see you then. And Evelyn, that's my last announcement, so back over to you. Thanks.
Okay, well, welcome back to City Life. We have, about 22 minutes left, roughly. So we talked about the school building project that's coming up. We want people to be aware of that. We want them to be aware that at some point there will be a vote, but you want to be informed as to all the details with regard to that. We talked about budget
Town meeting, yeah.
and town meeting.
Yep.
And we're doing well as far as the budget goes.
Yes.
You said you were going to take some of the free cash and put it towards more roads.
And the roofs and capital, yep.
So if the weather it's raining, but if the weather stays really good as far as temperature goes, will the asphalt plants stay open?
Yeah, they'll stay open. Generally, it's around mid-November that they'll shut down. And the town also doesn't want road openings, because in New England you can get early season, snowfall and issues. So
We did in
yeah,
October.
So, but they'll keep working, and the town still does have some road projects that need to be completed, and that will be occurring. You'll even see some Saturday work. So yeah, but yes, short answer is yes. The other thing we're working on, as you know, Evelyn, is the fire station design project.
Yep, that's coming up. Yep.
That's to replace the existing station at Roberts Field with a new station, and the one in South Chelmsford, on Acton Road near Robin Hill Road. Again, stations that were built in the 1960s that are just outdated and don't have the living facilities and space for today's apparatus. And so that design continues, and again, the hope on that is to be bidding that work in the spring, and construction to begin next summer, and then be completed by fall of '27 as well. So that's moving along, and in fact, they're before the zoning board of appeals on October 2nd for a variance at South Chelmsford because it's so close to the lot
It's very
line
tight.
that we, and obviously if you're going to make this station a little bigger, you're going to need a zoning relief. And so there's discussions with the abutting property owners in the community about proper landscaping and screening and fencing, and it actually would be a 2-story fire station there because of the need for living quarters. And then the one at Roberts Field is a little more exciting because that may become a totally green, green meaning geothermal,
Oh, that'd be cool.
heat and utilities and so forth, and solar. So that may be a 100%, like you said, self-sufficient or energy-sufficient facility. That would be 1 story. And then your geothermal would probably be in probably the initial part of the underground of the field at Roberts Field, that first field near the parking lot, because you've got to install the wells and so forth, which there isn't enough land to do that at South Chelmsford. And then obviously, going back to the school project, that obviously be made with today's energy codes, natural lighting, solar and so forth. So that's moving along as well. And then the other big thing that's kind of under the radar but important, and in fact my newsletter will be coming out in the beginning of the month, that the select board just approved the town to conduct a study of the consolidation of the 3 water districts. And
Do they have the approval of the water districts?
No, but and this is not a proposal for the town to take over the 3 water districts. This is the question of asking that in the year 2025, or moving forward, can those districts be governed in a unified manner so that there's equity across the community, and there's efficiencies that can be achieved by having one governing body, much like we have one housing authority, that would oversee the entire water treatment and operation system in the community. I think it would be envisioned as an elected board, just like the housing authority, probably 5-member board as opposed to the 3-member board of the 3 districts, with 1 superintendent, 1 group of employees, managing all the treatment operations and environmental regulations and operations in today's world. And when you think about the same thing, like you think of the complexity of operating with PFAS treatment systems in the year 2025, the environmental regulations, the equipment cost, and the infrastructure needs. Because right now we have districts that are as small as 750 water takers in East Chelmsford versus 10 times the size of that for the Chelmsford Water District.
Yeah, Central Water District is huge.
And North being in between. And then when we look at other communities like Billerica and Tewksbury and so forth, we see that they're operated in a unified manner across the entire community. So again, the select board was very clear, and in their contract with the design consultant, this is not a town absorption, which is what Manager Lynch had attempted to do decades ago. But this is a question of, would the ratepayers, meaning the residents of the town, be better served by a consolidation of either one district, or at a minimum should the small East District be absorbed into one of the others.
East
And so
had
it's gotta be-
issues.
Yeah, exactly, and they still do.
And if they still do, then I think that is a consideration.
Yep.
I do not believe that North will want to agree to anything because they never did. I'm not sure how, I haven't talked to anybody, but I have been involved in the past politically and personally with an awful lot of them. And so this will be very interesting. Again, we want to stress it's not for the town to take it over. There may be a lot of misinformation out there. People need to ask the appropriate people for the facts and not the misinformation that people may have. I'm hoping that there are individuals that do name calling and all of the other stuff that goes along with, what they think of people not moving along with the future.
And one of the more important part of the show, what do we have for breakfast today?
Apple walnut.
Thank you. What's on top?
That is a cinnamon glaze.
Beautiful. Thank you.
So, but anyway, and the idea is bringing in a consulting engineer that is not affiliated with any prior work for the town or the districts, and getting facts. And I think the question is, why would a resident be concerned by this? Is one is we hear from residents about the cost of everything, whether it's the cost of your property tax, the cost of your electric bill, the cost of your gas bill, and other utilities. But more importantly, as you said, is the utility, can it be enhanced by one regulatory board, meaning one oversight board? Yes, you have three separate systems, north and east,
Yeah.
and nobody's saying that you have to combine them, but it's a question of, much like the town has different sections of its sewer system, that, what flows out of Southwell is different than what flows out of Progress Avenue. But the point is, would there be efficiencies in terms of personnel, staffing, equipment, and so forth, in operations?
Yeah, and where would it be located?
Yeah, and where would it be located? And that all would be determined, and again, not to the benefit of anything other than the ratepayers in the community. And I think the analogy would be is, if you look at everything else across the community, we don't, segregate. Like, we don't have a North Chelmsford Fire Station and a Chelmsford Center Fire Station district and operations. It's all one unified, and therefore the thought is, would the benefits, and if the answer comes back no, it's no. If the answer comes back, well, you should do this with East or this, then that's, at least it gives us information, as you said, and it hasn't been looked at in about 30 years. So therefore, and I expect that'll probably take 6 to 9 months to do that study, and then obviously there'll be nothing would happen without action by the legislature, and the legislature's not going to act unless there's approval and support within the community. So this isn't something that the town, meaning town officials, can impose on anybody. What the town can do, and what it has done, is saying, hey, this is worthy of study and consideration. Let's do that work and then see where it brings us and see what the community wants to do.
Well, it's not like they're harassing them to do it all the time. So this, I mean, if you wait every 10 to 30 years to approach it, it doesn't seem as though they're trying to push for any kind of a takeover.
Nope.
And I think that's the important part. John, you had a question
Yeah,
or comment?
Paul, you got more seasoning with municipalities than anybody I know. The woefully
Needs a
low
hold.
voter turnout in Tewksbury
Yeah,
and in Lowell.
yeah.
What voting incentives are you aware of, or have you been made aware of, that will get people to go to the polls? Other than, we're going to shut your water off, we're going to start picking up your trash. Is there any voter incentives that have been successful amongst your circle of managers?
No, I mean, what brings people to the polls is self-interest, and usually that means property tax issues at the local level, if there's an override or a debt exclusion for funding. So, for example, if the town election would have roughly around 10%
If a town or a
turnout.
city, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and however, if the town were to put on a question, let's say, do we want to build a $250 million middle school? Well, you're going to get more than 10%, because that's going to affect people's property tax bills as well as their interest in the community. That draws them out. Or if the town said, because of inflation and mandates, we need to override Proposition 2.5 because 2.5% doesn't keep pace with inflation and fixed costs, because we're seeing the increases in salaries and benefits and special education and other costs. That would bring people out because, again, it pertains to what they want to see for government services and or their pocketbook. Short of the other thing that brings people out is if there were a definitive choice between candidates, and I think sometimes where we're in Massachusetts, where we tend to be dominated by the Democratic Party, and you don't tend to see that kind of choice or discussion amongst candidates. I mean, for example, here's what I'm saying. Right now, there's discussion that, will Ed Markey be challenged by, Representative Moulton in the Democratic Party for the primary? That would bring people out, or the governor's race will bring people out. But at the local level, it's nonpartisan, and there really aren't any what you'd call wedge issues.
Well, would you agree that most 40-year-olds living in a community can't name one elected member?
I would agree. And the reason for that is it really doesn't affect their day-to-day life. And,
They think it doesn't.
They think it doesn't. And I think that's the measure is people who live busy lives, and they're there's not much interest in local government and politics, and I think part of it is, as you see, the vitriol at the federal level and even at the state level, that people just get turned away by it, and therefore don't want to spend, and it's hard to spend. There's so much going on that they don't think it has any impact, and therefore that's why you see the turnout at the presidential election, is because they feel that has an impact on their day-to-day lives, even though local government is more involved in their the provision of services, whether it's police, fire, schools, and so forth. But so no, I don't know how you address
In conclusion,
that.
do you think that most administrations are happy that there's low voter turnout?
Yes, because it favors incumbents. As you can see, let's look in Massachusetts. We're one of the few states that has a primary election after the summer, right? So when there's going to be a contested race, whether it's for Congress, what have you, most states, and you see this when you watch every 2 years or 4 years, most states have their primary elections in the spring and summer, and then those candidates for either party spend the summer running against each other, for the November election. Massachusetts is one of the fewer states that does it, has the primary elections after, September 1st, and that tends to truncate the campaign period in the fall, which I think benefits incumbents. So yeah, basically the legislative bodies act in their self-interest, and what you see is you don't see much defeat of incumbent candidates on either party.
In lovely Lowell, Massachusetts, every Tuesday at 4 p.m., I get a text message that says, "Bring your trash out." Every single Tuesday. It says,
Why?
"Bring your trash and recycling," because I asked for it.
So the city actually emailed, texts everybody in the city saying you can put your trash out?
Yes.
Wow.
Also, at 3 o'clock in the morning, they have no trouble calling my landline and my cell phone, telling me that a 75-year-old guy with a purple hat on is missing, walking up Gorham Street.
Silver
Look
alert.
out your window.
Yep. Amber alerts, those type of things, yeah.
They have no trouble doing that.
Yes.
I think that the administration of every town should send a text out on voting day to all the voters that have registered for it. And I think that would
And
be,
telling them what, reminding them that it's
Yeah.
election day?
Yeah.
because how else would you have known it's voting? I know you're,
Well,
it's your job to
the other
know.
way you could do it, John, quite frankly, and I've often wondered this, is if you had a common voting date. In other words, people are familiar, the first Tuesday in November is voting day, right? November, right? First
Well,
Tuesday in
it's
November.
the people who are over 60.
Right, but
do
the
that.
point is the city council has that. It's always the first Tuesday in November. But in the towns, the elections tend to be all over the spring, right?
That's why the text would come in.
Right.
Because
My
ours
whole
is
point is, why not go to a common election date? In other words, why not have town elections on the first Tuesday in November? Because it actually, in a lot of ways, it would make more sense, because then the people who get elected in November would be the ones bringing the budget, developing and bringing the budget and
That's why
bylaws
there's
to
a
the town
menu at
meeting.
McDonald's. There's so many choices.
Right. But the point is that
We're
people
all going to
don't
have a
want it.
cheeseburger, like it or not. No, that's
Right.
not going to work in Massachusetts.
No, but if you had a common election date, you would then have the focus, because you clearly, if somebody didn't realize that there was a presidential election the first Tuesday in November in every fourth year, then they're living under a rock. Because think about all the
Because
advertising,
time is
all the
short,
promotions.
how likely do you think is this going to be happen?
It's not going to happen.
Okay, so.
But the point is,
would you
that
be
would.
willing? Would
right.
you be willing in the town of Chelmsford
Yeah.
to have a text that goes out to everybody who's asked for a text?
Right.
It's voting day.
I think you could, but you're right, you'd have to ask for it, and how are you going to the problem with that, John, is the people that don't ask are the ones that you want to reach.
But-
And that's the
But
problem.
you see,
That's
if
the
I get a
problem.
text, hey, it's voting day today.
Right. But my point
And I
is,
might
what-
mention that to Evelyn.
right,
Oh, it
but what
is?
percentage of the voters do you think would ask for a text?
Right now we got, I think.
That's
you-
the point.
Well,
I
you
think
don't know
get a
until
lot
you
of
start to
townies.
try, and it may catch on. It's not a bad idea, but you'd have to, there's a little bit more to it that I've been sitting here thinking.
And then do you have to do it in
strategy.
multiple languages? Think of the logistics of that. I don't know how the city does it, because,
You can have a link.
No, but when they send the message out for the trash, is that done in multiple
See,
languages?
this is a prime example. Administration doesn't want more people voting.
No, it's not.
No,
just
it has,
administration,
it
it's a
has to
question
do
of
with the
being
implementation.
fairness.
And
Because
it's,
otherwise you're gonna be sued of being discriminatory because you only send out the notice in English.
No, but my trash notice only comes in English.
Okay.
if
but that's-
English has been declared the
But that
national,
hasn't-
then you could say we're
Good
adopting the
point,
fact that's
Evelyn.
what we're
You're a
doing.
Republican, good point.
But you could send it out in several languages if you wanted to, because it's only a text.
Right, but as you know, we put banners up, we put signboards out.
Oh, I know, we
Vote
do an awful
Tuesday.
lot to advertise
We
if
do that.
people are
We-
driving
yeah, we
around.
do have-
But he's
Zippity-
looking at something else.
Zippity doodah, Lowell does zippity
They don't,
doodah.
there's no signs that say Vote Tuesday or Election Tuesday?
At least Tewksbury has a signboard in town center.
Yeah, so we have signboards and banners.
Yeah,
Works fantastic.
Yeah,
we do
and
that.
then,
Plus
when
also
People
you got-
didn't vote.
But
and
also
all,
you got lawn signs, right? You gotta admit Lowell has lawn signs. If you,
Doesn't-
how
Well,
can,
so does
how can you
Chelmsford.
not know there's an election?
But
in
there's
town?
I'm
also-
still
we
going
have
with the text, but I want to push that text.
but we have
See if it
school signs out, and those can be programmed, vote today, or no school today, vote today, because
Right.
McCarthy's right there.
But-
And so there's a lot of stuff
But a
that
text
we
isn't gonna
do
reach,
use.
A text isn't gonna reach my mother who's 90 years old. She doesn't have a smartphone.
She didn't sign up for it.
But
She
she doesn't
has no
have one.
phone.
She doesn't have a phone, John.
Well-
So she's not. So how's a text going to reach my mother, who's 90 years old?
Does she
Right, but
vote?
it's going, but the.
Yeah,
pro-
she votes.
How
Yeah,
does she know to vote?
because I tell her.
So she's going to
I
tattletale.
remind her because
But I think that, to John's point, if he's trying, if you were trying to reach those that are 30 to 50, we'll give a bigger range. They all have some kind of a device somewhere along the line.
Yep.
And if you thought you wanted to do this, because you could propose it to the select board and say, this was brought up on City Life, what do you think about this? And see where they would like to go with it, if they want to go anywhere with it.
But then the senior population saying, well, what are you doing to outreach to seniors? And legitimately so.
Most seniors take texts. Us old timers, and you're getting there, Paul. I don't know how old you
No,
are.
I qualify. I can walk into the senior center.
And I
today.
hate to admit it, but I mean, in my age bracket, I'm considered an elderly person. I mean, I'm on a tractor and moving
And how are you
stones and
gonna
all
reach
the other
18
stuff.
How are you going to reach the 18-year-old voter?
Well, if they have a cell phone
Yep.
and they are registered to vote, then you have a way to contact all registered voters in the town.
And is it going to make it through their spam filter? I mean,
That's not our problem. The
Yeah,
problem
that's
is
what I'm
that you
saying.
notify.
I think it's a good start. I'm just putting it
It's
out
just
there.
it's
How
kind
much
of an.
does
int-
election
when-
cost the town? How much does this?
Oh, it's probably close to $15,000.
So we spend $15,000 for
Right.
15 people to vote.
Right, right.
It's a
That's
poor
why you want to
invest-
have it
poor-
in November.
So once again,
Save money.
people don't have to take responsibility for themselves. It's like the request that we should have same-day voting, because God forbid somebody would have to register in advance to vote, and therefore we have to then go through the efforts and coordination of doing same-day voter registration, because people can't be responsible enough to pre-register to vote. And I
Reach-
think it's
run-
the same
run
thing,
and
John.
shut up,
At what
well,
point do people become responsible for themselves?
Education is a
Well,
nice
it's
tool.
7:56.
Tomorrow, City Life, we're going to have Cliff Krieger's going to be the host. Eileen Del Rossi's going to be here. City Councilor Corey Robinson's going to be here. Regina Fatacanti's going to be here. John Curtis will not be here tomorrow. He sent me a text yesterday. He can't come tomorrow. So that's tomorrow, City Life. Time is short, Ev. Thank you.
Is there anything we didn't talk about that you wanted to bring up? Anything on agendas, future agendas? I know that we're working on improving more on capital. We've talked about the fire stations, we talked about our budget, talked about the fall town meeting, because that's coming up on October 20th. For anybody that's listening, that is televised on your local cable channels, so you can watch it live. If you wanted to speak for any particular thing, because the warrant will be online on the town website, so there's a lot of access to information if anybody's interested in doing that. And if you want, like I said, if you want to speak at town meeting, you have to be a resident, and you can speak, you just can't vote. It's all petitioned off. It'll be at the senior center again,
October 20th.
October 20th,
Monday.
and obviously it's going to be the following Thursday,
Yep.
from what it is
Yep.
I gather, that we have. And, you know, we can definitely see how that works. I'm trying to think if there's anything. Oh, yes, Swain Road, in like a minute. Is there any updates on what's going on Swain Road in North Chelmsford with regard to all those trucks?
That is in the land court. there was a hearing, I believe, yesterday. Right now, it takes a long time, but they're now doing discovery, and, there was a motion made to do summary judgment. I don't think that will occur. So that's just going to take time to move through the system, unfortunately.
But at least something's being done. There's more action than there was before. All of
Yeah.
this came up with the group of residents that had
Yes.
the petitions and out there. I haven't seen a lot on my email because I'm on the thread. And I know Glenn's on the thread. We wanted to know what was going on with regard to that because we do know a lot of people. And, if we can be of help or service with any of that, that would be good. It was interesting, just as an aside, the landscaper that I had doing some building stone walls, because I can't lift the 80-pound blocks anymore,
What?
made some comment that the granite is coming from a quarry. And I'm going, is it Chelmsford that your crushed granite is coming from? He didn't know where it was coming from, but he made a comment, and I'm going, is it in Chelmsford? Because it's the color is what it is that they've had coming out of that particular area. So I thought that was interesting. Thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
All that information is wonderful, and hopefully enough people are watching, and I'll put it up on Facebook so people can access it, so they know. And then we'll see if anybody has any other comments with regard to that. So we'll chat with everybody next week on the Thursday. Obviously, there's a show tomorrow. Everybody take care. Watch out for all those bills.
And it's only 3 months till Christmas.
See you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Bye.